I think this is, I don't think it is my dark hair debut on YouTube. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen it. Yeah, I got bored, so I need a change. Hey, and welcome back to my little corner on the internet. Before we get into anything, I wanted to do a little fit check. Outfit Eden sent me a couple more things, and so I wanted to show them because they're so cute. And also because if you're interested in getting anything from them, invest in some staple things, you can use my code that I now have, isas25. You can get 25% off. Let me show you because I feel so swag right now. Okay, we've got this green jersey style shirt, which I love. I love jerseys. I love wearing my Brazil jersey. And then we've got, can't see very well, I just got these jeans, and I like them because they have these like ginormous pockets and I can fit a whole book in there. So just imagine, you know. The other two things, I haven't taken the tag off yet. This like jacket sweater thing, like it's very heavyweight, but I think is very swagalicious. Ooh. It's very comfy. And the last thing, this cutesy little sweater. I love sweaters. She's cute. She's soft. So, yeah. Today's video is gonna be that sort of, if you enjoyed this book, you should read this book, sort of recommendations, if that makes sense. I'd also like to mention that the recommendations go both ways. You know, it's in no specific order that you have to read them, I'd say. The first pair, I couldn't pick one because I feel like this book that I'm thinking of is a blend of these two, and that is Marlo Granados' Happy Hour, which I loved, one of my favorite reads from last year, and Big Swiss by Jean Vegan. Happy Hour follows these two friends that moved to New York. They're in their early 20s. It's, I think, 2013, the early 2010s, and it's them just being messy, having fun, trying to figure themselves out, and just, you know, trying to live life. It's really fun, but it also dapples a lot with identity and growing up and things like that. And then Big Swiss follows this character who transcribes therapy sessions, and she becomes kind of obsessed with this woman, and they develop a sort of relationship, but this woman that she's obsessed with isn't aware that she's transcribing and knows all of these personal details about her. I thought it was really funny and clever, and this whole thing of obsession and transcribing these things and learning about someone and studying character through that, I thought was really fun. And so if you combine these two, if you enjoyed these in this sort of literary fiction realm, I wanted to recommend Nothing Special by Nicole Flattery. I recently read this, and I had seen that some people didn't get much out of it. Personally, I really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. But it follows this, I think she's 17, yeah, 17-year-old May, and she decides to leave home, is living in New York, and she manages to find this position transcribing audio files for Andy Warhol's book. And it kind of dapples a lot with her developing this friendship with this other chick who's also transcribing, and it follows her kind of dappling with her own personal identity and also studying and creating these commentaries and reflecting upon all that she hears about in these audio files while she's transcribing. I thought it was really fun. One thing that I liked is that because it is set in the 60s in New York, that whole atmosphere it's just the vibes, and I love Andy Warhol, which is the prime reason why I picked this up. But I just felt it was very perceptive in my opinion, which is why I enjoy reading books from pre-iPhone era. And so next, if you enjoyed Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. If you didn't enjoy, first of all, I'm sorry, what? This is kind of, I think in the future will become a sort of modern classic. It is such a titular book within its genre. I don't know what genre you'd classify this. I guess it's a mix of romance and to an extent literary, I would say. It is so beautiful. I love the film. So if you enjoyed this book, I would recommend Written on the Body by Jeanette Winterson. Ooh, this is a combo that I thought of and I was like, yeah, this is basically, if you don't know what Call Me By Your Name is, it basically follows this, I think he's an archaeologist of sorts, or he studies artifacts, and he goes to this Italian villa to do some work, and he develops a very close and intimate relationship with Elio, who lives there at this big beautiful villa, and it kind of follows their journey with grappling with their own identity and developing this intimate relationship and all the intricacies of that. People tend to criticize this book because it sounds very romanticized, even though it is kind of a very large age gap and it is illegal because Elio is still 17. But I will always reiterate this. The tonality and the way it's written is supposed to reflect Elio's mindset and his point of view and his naivete towards this whole thing, which is why it's so compelling. So please keep that in mind, okay? And written on the body, it follows this, it's a very poetically written book. It is not so straightforward and you have to pay a lot of attention to it to kind of understand what is being said. But it again also follows this relationship of this woman who decides to start having an affair with this unnamed protagonist, which, at least from my personal interpretation from it, is also a woman, and they have this very beautiful, passionate relationship. But this woman that she falls in love with has become kind of ill, and it follows dealing with that sort of impending grief that is coming. It's so beautiful. It's so well done. It is romantic. It's sad. Literally this. It's like, if you enjoyed this, you would like this. That's the whole point of the video. Trust me. That's the best way that I can describe the recommendation. I tried finding popular books and finding books that aren't so popular to recommend. In this case, if you enjoyed My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, I want to recommend Post-Traumatic by Chantal V. Johnson. My Year of Rest and Relaxation, if you don't know, follows this woman who has become very depressed, is very out of it, and she tries her best to find the exact correct combination of drugs and medication that she can take so she can sleep for an entire year, and she believes that this will completely kill off and rejuvenate all her cells, basically, so she can become this sort of reborn, new, fresh person. It was really fun. It was kind of a spiral. She was kind of going crazy, doing this really weird things, and it's very dark. I really like this book. Some people don't like it. Some people really like it in this case. So I'm recommending Post-Traumatic if you enjoyed that, because this basically follows this woman who, she is a lawyer and advocates for mentally ill patients. And it follows her life with that while also grappling relationships, her own sexuality, her own mental struggles, and also being a Black Latinx woman in New York. And she kind of slowly spirals as well throughout this book, and it grapples a lot again with the sort of personal identity spiral into insanity and mental chaos, you know? But it is also still very sort of contemporary language, and it's very interesting. I really liked it, trust me. Next, this is an interesting combo that I thought of, but I think it fits, and that is if you enjoyed The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I recommend The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Basically, The Waves, if you don't know, follows this group of kids basically, and it follows their many different perspectives as they go along life whilst also dealing with the death of one of their friends. It's a very simple telling about just life and growing up. It's a very well done exploration of human identity and the human condition, which is why I'm recommending this, because this essentially follows the general idea of growing up, following this one female protagonist and her growing up and turning into a woman. This book is girlhood. If I had to encapsulate girlhood in one book, it'd be this. And she's learning about her sexuality, developing relationships with people, and learning about herself and the sort of life of adults that often get shunned away and are untold to young people. And so I thought it was brilliant. I love Elena Ferrante. Yes, I think if you really enjoy books on just life, growing up, and identity and friendship, relationships, this combo goes both ways, you know? Love these books. This is for my short story enjoyers, and if you have a bit more of a fantastical and kind of quirky taste in books. If you enjoyed Hit Parade of Tears by Izumi Suzuki, I recommend Sarahland by Sam Cohen. I wouldn't say that these are inherently very popular books in general, but I thought this was like a good pair, so I wanted to recommend these books either way. This basically follows, it's a very, I guess you can place this within magical realism. It's a very weird and funky collection of short stories. It just plays a lot with science fiction and things like that. And so I thought that Sarahland was an interesting collection as well, because it's kind of that sort of idea of playing around with the realism of reality and adding some fantastical magical elements to it. But this more so focuses queer sexuality, and it follows a bunch of people named Sarah. And it's a very weird, it's really funny, but also kind of like crazy book to read. I thought it was so fun. I really enjoyed reading this. It's kind of just, it's funky. It's a funky book. I tabbed it quite a lot. So if you want just some fun, funky, crazy short stories that you can just get on with, these ones. So if you enjoyed Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is also a very, very popular book, understandably, Ishiguro is a master of writing, I recommend Breasts and Eggs by Mieko Kawakami, which is also a Japanese novelist. I love these books, especially this. This made such a profound impact on my teenage brain. Never Let Me Go essentially follows this group of people. It's set in a dystopian universe where people are just cloned, and they are brought up knowing that they are meant to be brought up in a way so that they can eventually start donating their organs and body parts to people in need. These group of people who are dappling with this sort of existential crisis of personal identity, what is their purpose in life, why are they here? It's this sort of very raw and humane exploration of purpose and sense of belonging through this lens of knowing that you have only been created for the sake of being given away to someone else. And so this, it's not a dystopian novel at all, but I thought it was also a very intimate exploration of womanhood and standards, beauty standards, and all of that, specifically in Japan. It's a very bittersweet, and it's a very sort of, it can be a bit mundane, but I thought it was so well done. I love Kawakami's writing, and it's called Breasts and Eggs because it specifically discusses, breast enhancement and surgeries and cosmetics, and eggs because then it dabbles also with womanhood and women's personal purpose with motherhood and all those intricacies. So I thought these two are a very sort of contemporary exploration of existentialism and personal identity in that sense. So second last combo, I'm gonna say, if you enjoyed Death in Her Hands by Otessa Moshfegh, again, Moshfegh is very popular, so I thought, which I loved, so underrated. I am recommending The Days of Abandonment by Elena Ferrante. Two great writers, two really great books. This follows this old lady, and she becomes obsessed with this murder that has occurred, and she becomes obsessed with this victim, and she kind of goes on this weird journey of obsession but also losing her sanity, trying to figure out the life of this woman, what happened to her, and all of that. And through that, it also kind of implicitly dapples with her past identity as a woman, and it's an insane spiral. She goes crazy, but as a reader, you are still aware of what's going on, and you start putting the pieces together, but she cannot be putting the pieces together in her brain. She's struggling because she is going insane. She's an old lady going crazy. And so I'm recommending this because it follows this recently divorced woman and her sort of angry spiral and descent into madness as she grapples with her own personal life and dealing with her kids and herself. I thought it was so good. It was so angry, it was so raw. So I thought this is a good combo. There's women going crazy, So if you enjoy books in that realm, one or the other, great. Now, this is the last one. I think I'm saving the best for last, and I'd love to hear people's opinions. Sorry, I'm still taking the book out. I'm saving the best for last because I'm curious to see people's opinions, because I don't know, I didn't want to make this a really basic sort of combo, so I was thinking really hard of how I can differentiate from the internet as much as I can, even though, anyways, if you enjoyed The Secret History by Donna Tartt, I have read this so many times and listening to the audiobook too. I listen to that audiobook before I go to bed, I fall asleep to it. Absolutely love this book, and the planet loves it. It is such an influential piece of literature nowadays, and so I thought I need to provide something for my secret history lovers. But I didn't want to just recommend If We Were Villains or anything of that sort, or Bunny, which people tend to recommend as well, by Mona Awad. But I don't think people often try to recommend other dark academia books, but personally, I think if you enjoyed The Secret History, you would enjoy The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Hear me out, okay? I don't necessarily have a very in-depth explanation as to why. So if you don't know, The Secret History follows this group of Greek students at this small college in Vermont, and they're kind of obsessed with their field of studies and the classics, and their sort of obsession with this kind of leads to the death of one of their classmates, Bunny. And it follows them dealing with that sort of guilty moral conscience, but also living life and moving on from that and how they dabble with that. And the whole book sort of criticizes the sort of pretentiousness of academia. Brothers Karamazov, on the other hand, it follows the death of Fyodor Karamazov, which then leads to a very in-depth and very dense exploration of character of all the Karamazov brothers, all of which represent very sort of different systems of thinking, which I found was great. And it follows them. It grapples as well with, I guess to some extent, the law and the court and things like that. But so much of it just follows this sort of rivalry between siblings, and whilst also dappling with this murder. Personally, I think it's one of the greatest books ever written. Have I read every book in the world? No. Will I be able to? No, that's basically impossible, okay? But this is a classic for a reason. The whole atmosphere that Dostoevsky conjures in this is so dark and murky, and it also dapples with so much with morals and religion and philosophy and things like that, that it felt very close in nature to The Secret History in my experience reading that. So I need you to trust me and not to be afraid of the 1,000+ page book. That is my combo. It's one of my favorite books that I read last year, and I hold it very dearly to my heart. Those are all the book combos. I hope you get some recommendations out of this and that I have enticed you perhaps to read any of these. Maybe you haven't read any of these, and maybe you have a new set of books to read. A final thing that I'd like to end this video off on is that we are very, very close to hitting 10,000 subscribers, which is crazy. It's very crazy to me. I did not think at all that when I started doing this that it would grow this fast. So I'm just gagged. And the amount of love and support and the nice comments and also like the good feedback that you provide, I appreciate that a lot. Like, thank you, genuinely. I just love y'all. Y'all are cool, y'all are swag. We're like a cute little family. I was thinking of making a sort of Q&A for 10K once we hit that. So if you have any questions, if you have anything that you want me to answer, you can comment it. I have a community post up as well. You can comment on that. Follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up. I try and post a bit more regularly there. I kind of fell off a bit because I was away. I will see y'all in the next video that I make, whether that be another book video, perhaps a studying video because I'm back in uni.